What's up, everyone? Just some quick thoughts about the week 5 flip grids, which, if you remember, was about Mill and on liberty and the idea that we ought to have as much, not put restrictions on speech. I mean, again, he's writing in England, so he's not talking about the United States Constitution. And the whole basis of his claim is that robust free speech is better for society than it is harmful, right? That restricting it would be a bigger harm. And I thought people had a lot of good things to say. A couple of videos, people were like, "Well, I think we should still have free speech, but maybe with more restrictions." And I don't really know what that means until I really understand some specifics, right? So, how would you draw those? What would you restrict, and why should it be restricted? So those are just things to think more about. I wanted to single out Megan A because I thought she made a really good comment about the role of private companies, right? So one of the things that's sort of unique about our modern age is that a lot of the speech that is out there sort of for us to consume is happening via companies that could themselves impose regulations. So it's not like the government would be regulating it. And Megan, I think, did a good job first arguing against the government restricting speech because, and this is the claim you hear from people who still are defending, robust free speech protections, which is, yeah, there's a lot of horrible speech out there, but as soon as you start restricting it, you never know when that's going to lead to oppression. But then Megan made the really interesting comment that where that regulation can happen is companies deciding to regulate it for themselves. And I guess that's what I want to ask all of you guys to keep thinking about this issue is that imagine you ran Twitter, you ran YouTube, you ran Facebook. What regulations should those companies have? Because up until very, very, very recently, and really still ongoing, those companies broadly were like, look, we allow people. So if it's untrue, it is what it is. People should be able to figure that out themselves, that kind of thing. It wasn't until the January 6th riot in the Capitol that President Trump had his Twitter account suspended. But that was not after months of saying that the election had been stolen. That was after it actually led to violence. And I'm not saying this as a political thing. I just mean it as an example of how much speech, disinformation, etc., should we allow, even in the private sphere, before we say enough's enough, right? So Mill might say, you ought to allow all of it to take place because that kind of debate, it allows for robust debate and allows us to sharpen our own skills. And I'm not sure that's true anymore, that bad information maybe can drown out good information. So it's a really complex and interesting time. One way to think about this issue that I think is interesting is the idea of a campus speaker. So imagine we had somebody come to campus who was I don't know, something that you totally despise, like neo-Nazi type of thing. Should we allow them to speak? If we allow them to speak, should there be organized, there are campuses in which students refuse to let a speaker be heard because they think just the allowing of that speaker to be heard on campus is destructive. And so I'm curious what you all would think about those kind of examples as well. But anyways, I thought the videos were interesting. I hope you found the topic interesting. And then I'll post a separate video about week 6. All right. Thanks, everyone. Look forward to seeing your week 7 flip grids.